Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Because We Win Bet from the Bet Rivers Network live reaction show with myself, Steve Wyss, and Nigel Seeley. The first one of these, Nigel. How are you feeling?
I'm good, mate. I'm just watching this the VAR decision in the Chelsea-Liverpool game. Mo Salah thought he scored to put Liverpool 2-0 up. The goal's been disallowed. It was offside. Bit of a disappointment for me. Obviously, I'm on Liverpool quite heavily to win the Premier League, and I'm obviously on Trent Alexander-Arnold to get the most assists, and he got an assist there for Mo Salah, which would have been quite nice. But it's currently 1-0 to Liverpool in that game. My attention was drawn to that, Steve, rather than you, I'm afraid. Sorry, sir. Yeah, I'm good. The Premier League is back. The soccer in Europe is back, which is great. Some brilliant matches to start the season off. A great match early on today, Brentford against Tottenham. Well, the first half in particular was exceptional. You keep your eye across all the European action. You've just seen some great games. Well, comeback today. What a comeback that you had. The first match of your pick, your outsider pick, coming back from 2-0 down to win 3-2. So, yeah, it's back. Looking good. I'm looking forward to talking about this. This is a show that we talk about all the big talking points in the world of soccer, and we sort of revert them back to a betting angle as well. So lots to talk about, and really looking forward to this one, mate.
Yeah, welcome anyone who's watching live. Feel free to comment, and we'll, get some questions answered. There's a big plane just goes right over my house.
What was that? What was that?
It was like
was that a flyover? Bet Rivers flyover. I thought that was like the Super Bowl. When we've launched a new show, I thought there's a flyover.
I don't know what that was, but I'm glad it didn't crash into my house. Let's just say that.
I didn't know the Bet Rivers budget had a flyover for the launch of the first reaction show.
I know, it was obviously a surprise, wasn't it? A big surprise there. But before I just want to talk about this Liverpool game, Nigel, because in running right now, the goal line is on the Asian goal line is about over under 3, and you can get even money on over 3 goals. If right now, would you go over or under on that line?
I think I'll just bet Liverpool to score them on their own. I just can't see Chelsea scoring. Liverpool have been absolutely brilliant in the first 32 minutes here. Chelsea have been well off the pace. Lots of new players. I mean, if half of this Chelsea club team walked into the local pub, I wouldn't know half of them. That's how many changes. I wouldn't know any of these players. It's a new look, total new look side. Liverpool got a new look as well, but they're gelling. I mean, I'd probably go under because my tendency is always to go under, but I think. From what I've seen from this first half, it's whether Liverpool score 2 or 3 on their own. I just can't see how Chelsea can score in this game. They've been totally second best in the first 33 minutes here.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where the tendency is to actually always think overs, but I know you're more an under man, and I think it takes a bit more balls, doesn't it, sometimes, but it often is the right call in a big game like that.
The problem you have, Steve, the problem you have when you bet under, or when you bet overs is you need both teams to contribute. From what I've seen in this first match here, there's only one, in the first 35 minutes, there's only one team contributing to the goals, and that is Liverpool. So I think if you are brave when you think that someone's going to the two teams are going to get involved in scoring themselves, but when there's only one team that the better side has got all the goal threat, then it's not so ballsy really. And this at the moment looks one-way traffic is what I've seen from the first sort of half hour or so.
Welcome in Connor, Elias, Derek, and Shane. Thanks for joining in the show. Derek asks me, any idea why we lost so much value with the Rennes minus 1.25 Asian? Yeah, they did kick off a -1 Asian handicap. I'm not actually sure why, Derek. To be honest, there wasn't any significant team news on that. I've been watching that game, and it's 1-1 half time. I would actually bet in running here over 3.5 or over 3.25 actually, just for safety, because it really Rennes they should be leading, but they just conceded a goal immediately after they scored that one. So I'm keeping my eye on that game. And you're right, Nigel. There's been a lot of goals actually in France today. The Brest game earlier. That was my hot dog of the week. They came from 2-0 down. I'd written it off, but they came from behind. Just been watching Monaco against Clermont. Our very own Dan Roebuck's been commentating on that for those watching in the UK.
I've heard enough of his voice this week. I had to put it on mute.
So he was really enjoying that game. Was Dan Roebuck. So
that line that you said there, the over 3.5 goals on that match now is even money with Bet Rivers at halftime Rennes against Met. So if you want to follow Steve's advice there and go over 3.5 goals, is even money. Under is -121.
So what we are going to talk about on this reaction show is obviously games that are going on live, but also what's been going on, what's caught our eye over the weekend so far across the whole of Europe And I think really the place to start, perhaps, Nigel, is that really big win for Newcastle yesterday. Now, I don't know what your actual prediction was for this game, but I don't think many saw 5-1, did they? But are Newcastle for real, do you think?
I think we'll know a lot more about them in the next couple of weeks. If you look at their fixture list, they play Manchester City away next time, and then they play Liverpool at home. So I think we'll know a lot more about Newcastle in the next few weeks here. My problem with Newcastle is that obviously Callum Wilson is going to he's going to miss at least 10 games. The new signings that have come in have gelled instantly, which you wouldn't expect. And in Tonali, seem to have got an absolute gem for the money they've paid there, €70 million. When you consider what Declan Rice has gone for and Caicedo may have gone for to Liverpool or Chelsea, whichever he makes his decision up. So they look the real deal. My only concern for them as well is when we get to the Champions League. Obviously, they've never been used to that. They need to obviously strengthen the squad to compete with the Champions League. But yes, at home, they're going to be a match for anybody. On the road, I'll be slightly concerned from them. They've got a very, very good defence. And they're strong as a goal. Chelsea have just scored. We said that we thought that Liverpool would have one-way traffic, but Chelsea have just scored here to make it 1-1. So that's well. If you look on the over there, you're in great shape. I'll give you some odds on that in a minute. But going back to Newcastle, I think sometimes we get very carried away about one match, don't we? And their performance was exceptional. But next up, like I say, Manchester City and Liverpool, we'll know a lot more how good this Newcastle side is in the next 2 weeks or so. But are they going to improve on a Champions League position? They finished fourth last year. I think that's probably where they're going to be this year, but they have to have the added pressure of playing in Europe as well. And I looked at the Champions League betting on it, and they're like sixth favourites to win the Champions League, which is crazy when you think about it. Isaac looks a quality striker. He's going to share the goals with Callum Wilson. That's formidable, but the key for them is obviously if they can keep Callum Wilson fit for me. So I think it'll probably be pretty much the same as last year, because however strong they've gone, that extra Champions League is going to cause them big problems with a smallish squad compared to what other teams at the top of this table have.
They've certainly been backed, both in terms of outright. They were 20-1 to win the Premier League, and they're in as short as, I think, 14-1. I've seen some books quoting them as. Bet Rivers are a top price worldwide at 18-1 on Newcastle to win the Premier League. Next week, Manchester City, before this weekend, were minus 233 on the money line to beat Newcastle, and they have drifted out to minus 180. So already based on that Newcastle result, people are really liking the Toon Army. And like Shane says there, Isaac was impressive. Lee Martin, Tonali was a very good debut, no doubt about it. But
you won't believe what's happened here, Steve. Chelsea have gone 2-1 up. They never looked like doing anything, and the next 5 minutes they've just gone 2-1 up. I think it's a goal from Ben Chilwell. I think is it Ben Chilwell scored? I don't know, but they've just gone from 1-0 down to 2-1 up. I was going to give you some odds there, and now they've scored again. So Chelsea have completely turned it around. Anyone who's bet the unders there is the money's done, and they're 2-1 up. Absolutely crazy last 5 minutes. Chelsea have gone 2-1 up at home to Liverpool, and there was a huge move on Liverpool in this match as well. So. Yeah, amazing. I think this might be a VAR check as this well, so we'll come back on that. Sorry, we'll talk about Newcastle.
Yeah, all kicking off in that Liverpool game. What match we've chosen there to be live on air with. But yeah, you're a betting man, Nigel, and is this overreaction in matches for next week, outright markets? Is that quite normal after the first weekend?
I think it's more an Asian market move, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's more the move on the Asian with the handicap, which obviously then affects the money line market. So I think it's more to do with the fact they're probably betting Newcastle plus a goal with the push, which makes the money line market change as well. That's where I think that if you're going to bet Newcastle in this match, you may want to bet them plus a goal on the Asian handicap. I don't think they've got enough to go to Manchester City and win. Do you? I mean, if they get a draw, it's a brilliant result. But I think they were impressive against Aston Villa. Aston Villa had a bad day, but I mean, Man City weren't bad, were they? There was in their performance. So I think that the goals being disallowed. So we had 2 VAR goals disallowed, and it's now back to 1-1 that Chelsea match. So now I think with Newcastle, they haven't won a trophy. When was the last time they won a trophy? Was it back in?
Is it 1954 or something like that?
So there you go. So you're betting.
Although they did win the Intertoto Cup in the 90s, if you count that.
No, we're not. We're not counting that because we're not counting this show. But you're backing them 16-1 to win the Premier League title when they haven't won a show. I think not this year, maybe next year or the year after, yes. But where they are now, I think they're a public play, and I think their price is ridiculously short or high, as you would say in the American market at 14-1. I think that's not something that would tempt me whatsoever. No.
I think for me the difference between Man City and Villa is Villa. I mean, defensively were terrible yesterday. I think they were Konsa, especially, who I thought was really poor. Man City, if you look at their squad, probably the best part of it now is the defense. So they're not going to get as many freebies next week, are they? And I actually think, I'd be actually looking at backing City on some. If they keep drifting, I think the value could be on City next week. But that's why you're on the EPL show with Jack Wright, and that's for you to decide. But,
well, I think it's just it's a public play, isn't it? Newcastle have just obviously been bet on the back of a 4-1, and I think it's more to do with the handicap. Personally, I think people think, we're bet Newcastle +1. If they're going to lose, they can win by 1. We get a push, and we might get the draw. I don't think it's lots of people betting Man City or opposing Man City on the money line. I think the Asian market has spoken on the handicap, and it's obviously had a change on the money line market.
Welcome in, Kurt. Welcome in, and Shane. Again, thanks for the questions. Appreciate you joining live. A couple of other points from the Premier League first weekend. A bit of a tough one for the promoted sides, Sheffield United and Luton especially. Luton getting beaten big by Brighton, probably not the biggest shock in the world. Sheffield United look completely toothless. They've been the biggest mover actually in the relegation market to go down -150 to -250. I know Jack Wright especially was really worried about them in the weekly show you did heading into the weekend. Do you just wonder? I looked at Sheffield United and I'm like, where are the goals coming from? They look really toothless to me.
Yeah, I think they're the side. I think these two teams, Sheffield United and Luton, could possibly be the worst two sides that have played in the Premier League. I think they could really be well adrift of the field very, very quickly. I think Luton obviously are going to, hopefully, that for their sake, pick up points at home. On the road, they ended last season with a bad road run with only 1 win in 7, and that was at Rotherham. So when you consider what they've got to play in the Premier League, this is going to be a tough ask for them. Sheffield United, no goals, lots of players leaving, probably a worse squad than what they were last year in the Championship. So yes, I don't disagree at all with that move. I think out of the two of them, I think Sheffield United will probably finish bottom rather than Luton. And there was nothing to suggest anything other than that in their performance yesterday. The question of that relegation market is really who goes with them. I mean, they're to me already after one game. We talk about reaction of Newcastle to win the Premier League. I think the reaction to Sheffield United probably isn't strong enough. I think they are that bad. Realistically, if someone offered me the odds they are to get relegated now, I would take it. But the problem we have with these anti-post and future bets is you've got to tie your money up for 9 months. And I don't really want to tie my money up for 9 months at a heavy minus money price. So I think if you can parlay the two of them, Luton and Sheffield United, to go down, I think that would probably make some sense. But I think these two sides could be the worst two teams the Premier League has seen for a very long time. And just judging by the comments from both managers, they're already admitting now that they're in trouble. And so I think the reaction to Newcastle is an unjustified reaction because of the 5-1 win against Man City. Aston Villa had an off day. Remember as well, they lost Tyrone Mings very early as well in that match as well, which was a big blow for them. So defensively, they were all over the place after that loss. But I think the bottom of the market, I couldn't disagree with the market makers cutting the odds on both of those newly promoted clubs to be relegated again.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think there's even a chance Sheffield United could finish bottom below Luton, because Kenilworth Road, it can be a tough place to go, and they will get points at home, like you said. So in Carlton Morris, at least they've got a striker, but it does look difficult for both of those teams. At the one more thing in the Premier League before we move on, Arsenal are on the drift against Palace next week. Does that kind of surprise you a bit? Because I didn't see an awful lot from both of the fixtures this weekend that suggested to me, that this move is warranted. Arsenal were -227 to beat Palace, and now they're into -179.
I think Palace is notoriously, I know last season it wasn't, but it's usually a very tough place to go and get a result, isn't it? Crystal Palace. I mean, their home form there over the years has been very solid, and they've liked to upset the big guns. I was there last season when the opening day of the season when they played Arsenal, and Arsenal absolutely battered them. But Arsenal performance yesterday was a performance of two halves, wasn't it? The first half they were exceptional, two brilliant goals, and in the second half Forest got right back into it and really threw everything at them. And Arsenal hanging on a little bit, especially sort of between just when they scored that goal for the next 10 minutes or so. I'm not a massive fan of Arsenal this season. I think they'll make probably Champions League, but the idea of that they'll push for second again and they'll be challenging for the title. I still think they're a long way off. I know they spent money, but I think they're a long way off. I don't believe that Havertz is the signing that. I think for the money they've got, I don't think he's the signing that fits the bill. I think obviously Declan Rice is a great signing, both on and off the pitch. But I'm quite anti Arsenal in some matches, and I think they're going to get turned over. And again, like Newcastle, this is a young team playing in the Champions League. A lot of these players haven't had Champions League experience. It's going to be all new to them as well. And we've seen other clubs playing the Champions League and really have their league form affected. So I'm not really surprised by the move so much because it's at home. And Crystal Palace went into the season as a bit of an unknown. We never really knew, could they continue on from what Roy Hodgson did last season when he came in, or would they would go backwards? So I'm not at all surprised really by the move, but it's still short enough, and I wouldn't be betting Arsenal then prices, not at all.
There has been a goal in the Rennes game, 2-1 to Rennes, which is music to James Easton's ears in the head-to-head challenge this week against Rory Barlow. So that is, I could see there been more goals in this game, to be honest. Rennes should win fairly comfortably. Shane asks, Nigel, a lot of books are offering the relegation treble. Who, if you had to, gun to your head right now, who's the third team to go down out of the, obviously you've said Luton and Sheffield United, you think have a strong chance. Who would you say is the third team? Well,
I think that is the question of the whole, that is the key question that Shane's asked there on the whole of this relegation battle. Who is the third team? I think it's many teams vying for one place. Obviously, on the back of yesterday, Everton clearly going to be in trouble. I mean, they haven't got a goal scorer. Talking about players who haven't got a goal scorer, the amount of chances they missed yesterday, they haven't got a goal scorer. They need someone desperately. Calvert-Lewin is their only goal threat, and he's injury prone, so they're going to be involved in another relegation battle. Wolves, obviously, we haven't seen them yet, but we expect them to be a lot worse than what they were last year. I expect Manchester United to beat them pretty comfortably tomorrow. And I've actually bet West Ham. I wasn't too, I bet Bournemouth yesterday on the draw no bet, so I got my money back on that, but I wasn't that impressed by either of them two teams really. And I just thought that with West Ham, with the pressure they're under, losing Declan Rice, they've obviously brought in a couple of players, or linked with a couple of players at the moment. Sure, Harry Maguire obviously is going to be signing soon, and more Prowse as well from Southampton. That will change the complexion of that West Ham, but they're a side that were really poor last year, weren't they? They were terrible, and they only finished 6 points above the relegation drop zone. And I think that the European Conference win that they had papered over a lot of the cracks at West Ham. So at double-figure prices, their manager's the heavy minus money favourite, or the favourite to be the next manager to lose his job. I don't think that's a good thing, because I expect Graham Potter to take over if he did lose his job. So I think the longer we can keep David Moyes, the better we have for this bet. But they would be my outside pick. But if someone put a gun to my head, I'd have to throw in Wolves, actually. I think it would be. I think they're going to really, really, really go backwards from what they were last season, and I think Everton as well. They've been just hanging on for dear life.
Well, Everton, Neil Maupay. I mean, watching the highlights yesterday, he can't finish his dinner, can he? Like, it's unbelievable. The chances he gets. Where's the goals coming from for Everton? I think the same will be said about Wolves as well, to be honest. I know we've not seen them yet. So I think that's a fair call, really. It could be any of 3 or 4, really.
Also, West Ham as well. Paquetá is obviously linked with a move to Manchester City. If he goes, I think that's a big blow for them. I mean, they're losing a lot of quality players. They're bringing in players that are they going to change their fortunes around? If you look at the difference in price, West Ham at 11 or Wolves at plus 175, I think it's a big difference. And I think on the end of the league table, there'd probably only be 3 or 4 points between the two of them. I think for a value perspective, West Ham, but I think Wolves and Everton will probably most likely be the two sides that would be competing in. But like, we're only watching one game and we haven't seen Wolves yet. So from what I saw yesterday, Luton, Sheffield United and Everton will be the three sides that I think are going to struggle. But I expect more the same from Wolves tomorrow. And West Ham, I think currently, if you're looking for a value pick at double figures to get relegated, would be my pick at double figures.
Yeah, now not away from the Premier League, but the big European move over the weekend is Harry Kane, obviously going from Spurs to Bayern Munich. We'll talk a bit more about the German side of things soon, but obviously a big blow for Spurs to lose Harry Kane. Big money. I suppose you could say maybe they expected it. Everyone thought he'd be on the move this summer. We've seen them draw today 2-2 against Brentford. It was a good game, wasn't it? But how does Spurs go into the future now, into this season without their main talisman? Is it a good thing? Because they relied, in a way, it's like Harry Kane or nothing, isn't it? Will other players now just have to step up, and could that be a positive?
Well, you say it was inevitable. I didn't think it would be. I thought he would stay. I thought he would, and only was linked with it. But I thought when he broke it down, he thought to himself, I thought he'd go to Manchester United next season when he's out of contract. And he's already said in his press conference today that he's more or less said he's coming back to the Premier League. So I don't think this is I think he was desperate. I think he would have turned up at Manchester United if Pochettino was the manager at Manchester United. 100%. I think he couldn't go with Pochettino to Chelsea. He wanted to be linked with him, but he just couldn't go there. So there wasn't many clubs in for him. So Bayern Munich was the only club. I think it's a rather strange move, personally. I think it's a strange move for Harry Kane. I mean, he wants to win something, and he's had his first opportunity to win something yesterday and got beat 3-0. He's probably going to win he's going to be heavy minus money to win the Bundesliga title. But I don't think it's a great move for him, really, personally. I think he should have stayed at Tottenham for another season, stayed in the Premier League, and gone to a club like Manchester United or wherever. If Pochettino doesn't work out at Chelsea, he could have gotten to wherever Pochettino turns out after that as well. So I was quite surprised. In as far as the move goes, I think some of the comments and some of the talk about the Bundesliga has been very, very disrespectful to the Bundesliga. The Bundesliga is a very, very tough league with some very good teams and some very young players coming through. It's a stepping stone for a lot of these players to come on to other leagues, but it's full of quality and some really good teams. I mean, Leipzig are a quality side. Borussia Dortmund are a quality side. And I think Kane is going there, and I think a lot of people are expecting him to score 30 goals a season. That doesn't happen in the Bundesliga. I know Lewandowski has done that, and I know Haaland did that. But I think it's going to take a bit of time to get used to it. I mean, when you saw him at training yesterday, I mean, I just come back from Hamburg, right? Now, I reckon a Polish guy, Lewandowski, going to Germany could fit in well. When people come running up to you in the street in Hamburg going, rock and roll, man, and all this kind of stuff, right? These Germans are wacko. I mean, this is a boy from London all his life. He's not going to find it. He's not going to find it easy to adapt to life in Germany. The English and the Germans have totally different ways of personalities. Lewandowski can do it, obviously, like the Polish and the Germans are very similar. I think he's going to find it really strange to start off with. Really, really difficult for him to get going there. And I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back after a year, you know. Wins the top goal scorer, wins the Bundesliga, gets a trophy, and then comes back or in a couple of years, mate. He's got a long contract there, but I just think it's going to take him time. I think he moved because of desperation. He didn't want to be at Tottenham. He couldn't go to Chelsea. I think he would have loved to have gone to Man United, and there was no other move for him. And I think it's quite an interesting one. But for a London boy born through and through, spent 20 years at Tottenham to suddenly land in Germany, it's the culture and the personalities and I saw them all doing when he arrived. Their initiation was him to run through them all. They all smacked him on the back, like hit him on the back. I mean, that's what we did it like under 10s football. I mean, and when he was sitting in the back of the car, you see him sitting in the back of the car. He was like, someone said he was like a rhino tranced and just arrived at a new zoo and didn't know where he was. Like it was like on Twitter, someone commented and like that. But I think it's a strange move. I think he'll regret it. I know the odds make him very, very heavy favourite to be the top Bundesliga goal scorer, and there isn't anything in the Bundesliga, is there? Really, they've all left. I mean, he should do that easy, shouldn't he? But,
yeah, it's funny. We've actually had quite a few questions, not just the last day or two, but in the last week, about are we going to be doing another Bundesliga show on the Bet Rivers Network here? There will German Bundesliga outright show. We're going to be doing a preview show this week. It's going to be recorded tomorrow. Myself, Dan Roebuck, RJ, the main man's going to be, and we're also going to get Daniela Fischer-Keller in for some Serie A stuff. So there will be some Bundesliga picks this season. I will be having a look into that league myself as well. And he's already been reinstated as the minus 182 favourite to win the Bundesliga Golden Boot, which, some might think that's just, as long as he stays fit, he should win that. But I guess the question is, will he be rested and stuff like that already? I mean, I was in the pub last night after cricket, and we were all saying, he's already got himself a trophy, hasn't he? We presumed that they would beat Leipzig in the Super Cup last night, and they lost 3-0. So maybe the standard there in Germany is a bit better now.
Yeah, it is a bit better, but also that would have. Sorry to interrupt you. That would have the Harry Kane move would have absolutely disrupted their whole preparation for that match. There's no doubt about it. That would have been a bad thing for, and I don't think he should have played in that match. I think Tuchel should have put the team out that he wanted to start with and let Harry Kane in the stands. To put him on the bench, to the whole circus that was going on back at I think that would have totally caused problems in that. And in hindsight, really, I know hindsight's a great thing, but Leipzig probably were a decent bet to win that match. I think that doesn't help. I think there'll be a very different Munich side when they kick off next week. But yeah, sorry about that, Steve.
Yeah, mate, I think it's one of those where it can disrupt the squad. To lose 3-0 at home to Leipzig maybe just show that Leipzig are more serious this season. But Bayern have shortened to win the Bundesliga after the news of Kane coming from minus 350 to minus 440. That's obviously something we will be discussing on the outright preview show tomorrow. So look out for that being posted up this week. Next week they've already. But then after they lost against Leipzig, they're on the drift in the first match against Werder Bremen. So the Harry Kane thing, the whole squad's going to be involved in some form. There's a lot of unhappy people watching here, Nigel, about those that back Kane in the top goal scorer for the Premier League market.
I bet him in the Premier League market. I bet him at 14-1 last Sunday when he scored 4 goals.
Should these be voided because he left the league before?
This is the interesting one because they should be voided, but I don't think they announced the signing with his video when he arrived until after the Premier League kicked off. So I think by everything that sportsmanship and betting, that it should be void, right? There's no doubt about it. But because he moved on the Friday night and he wasn't signed until after the Burnley v Manchester City match kicked off, technically the bookmakers could turn around and say that the move was after the start of the Premier League by minutes, by hours. Like that's the grey area of this market. But from all things fair and everything, and obviously I'm not talking out my pocket here, but they should void it. 100% should void it. But I had a bet each way on him. I had £125 each way on Harry Kane at 14-1, so £250 to put on to put it on, and it hasn't been settled as a loser. So it hasn't been settled as void. It's still open. So that suggests to me that is going to be that they're going to keep it open.
I think that's
which is wrong.
I think that's really poor, really poor. But you're right, within the rules and the laws there, then I suppose they can do what they want with it in that respect. But usually, out of a gesture of goodwill, most books would void that pick, I think. But
I bet Harry Kane, and he's open and moved to Bayern Munich, and I said, and I bet Nkunku from Chelsea, and the day after I bet him, or literally the second after I bet him, he's out for 3 months. So I haven't had a great start to my top goal scorer future, and I bet Nunes to be the top goal scorer for Liverpool, and he's on the bench today. So not really a market that I'm very happy with at the moment.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, right?
Well, it could be 2 marathons if the player's not even in the country. We've done our money, Steve. And it could be a marathon. If you have for 4 months and Haaland's got 2 goals on day 1, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You're trying to give me some nice.
That's the nature of the beast. I'm going to just
Yeah,
talk
but
a
I
bit
don't mind if
about-
he got injured in a match. But to get injured literally the second after I placed the bet, literally the second, I knew he got the injured. I knew he was injured in the the US tour. Put the bet on, looked on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, and he's out for 3 months. Literally the second I pressed the place button. So that wasn't very good.
Yeah, just moving into. I'm just going to talk about a couple of French results that caught my eye this weekend.
Sure.
The first one being last night, Paris Saint-Germain 0, Lorient 0. It was a good winner for James Eastham. For those who watched, under 3.25, that was the goal line, well and truly under. And Paris Saint-Germain have, I think, panicked already, and I think they're bowing down to Kylian Mbappe. They're going to agree to reinstate him into the squad. It looks like he's going to sign another contract extension. He's probably going to get another massive appearance fee. We know he's obviously massive to that club, and already the news, they are one of the biggest market moves ahead of next weekend. They, despite drawing, they were going to be plus money to beat Toulouse away from home, but they are now as short as minus 167. So massive money on PSG, anticipating the Kylian Mbappe return. But I tell you what I would say about that is, this is someone who's not even been training properly over the last few weeks. His head's been a mess. He does like to come back and make a statement, but I just wonder in the space of a week how sharp he can really get, because I think everyone's going to be betting on Mbappe to score next week, things like that. And will he be at the level that they need him to be? So that's the big market move in France. They were poor without him, and last year I don't think they would have won the title without him. So I get why they have kind of panicked on that. Rennes have scored a third goal against Metz now. So that looks like that should be a win for them today. But so yeah, that result caught my eye. And the other match that caught my eye today certainly was actually the Brest game against Lens. First half, Lens looked excellent, and I completely underestimated them. They look really well coached, and I have no idea what happened. Brest just came back into the game, but there was a lot of people saying that Lens are going to drop out of the top four this year because they're involved in the Champions League, things like that. They've lost key players. From what I saw in that first half, if they can just eradicate what happened afterwards, then they may well be back in contention again, because they are excellently coached by Frank Ijs, who I think big clubs in Europe should be looking at him. He's done a great job there at Lens.
Ice, baby.
I didn't get that.
No, I thought you said his name was Frank Ijs.
Frank, Ijs.
We said Frank Ijs.
I get it now.
Ice, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get you now. I get it now.
Get with it, Steve. Get with it.
Yeah.
They don't get any better throughout the year, mate. So you might as well. That's one of the best ones.
So I've got a question for you, actually. Yeah. I'm just looking at your background. It's a very nice background, by the way, but most of it is what stands out is that yellow ball. I'm very attracted to that. What's the story there?
Here we go. It's a ball that is signed by the Brazil team from when they hosted the World Cup on a Premier League ball. They come over to England on a tournament. I think they played at the Emirates. I think they played Republic of Ireland or something like that. I can't remember where they played. But it was a ball signed by all that team. So there's we've got here Dani Alves. Neymar's on here. Where's he going to end up? Neymar's on here. But I got the ball and I just literally can't read any of the players. You wouldn't have no idea there. But you can read Hulk and you can read Dani Alves, and Neymar apparently is on here somewhere. But that's a ball. There's Hulk there. Hulk is there. Hulk.
Did you see his goal last week?
Yes,
doing the rounds on Twitter. Unbelievable goal.
And that's the Brazilian team that come over just before they hosted the World Cup, and they played a couple of tournaments there. But going back to the question, where's Neymar going to go? Probably
Saudi Arabia. I think it's one of the. He demands such a high wage that I think there's only very few places that I would have liked to have seen him in the Premier League. I'm not going to lie. I think he would be interesting to see how he fares over here. And he'd also, I'm not his biggest fan, but he does add great excitement and entertainment. So I'd have liked to have seen someone like Man United or even Chelsea make a move for him, but it looks like Saudi Arabia for Neymar at this point in time.
I've seen Neymar live once, Steve. I saw him live for Barcelona. He got sent off. So they played Malaga. They played Malaga in Malaga. Barcelona lost 2-0. Neymar got sent off, and Messi had the worst game you'd ever seen in your life. And that's when I saw them there. Just one other thing about the Kane thing, though, as well. I mean, obviously Real Madrid as well had a brilliant start to the season yesterday, and Jude Bellingham scored a goal in his debut, and what a player he is. I mean, he's crucial. I mean, I don't think it's a good thing for the English Premier League and English soccer that we have our best two players, and Kane and Bellingham both playing abroad. We're supposed to be the biggest league in the world. We're supposed to have all the best players, but arguably our two best players who play for England are both playing overseas. And I think a lot of teams like Manchester City or something like that, if they can't get like the likes of Foden a match, or they can't get Grealish a game, by the end of the season next year, they may actually decide to move on elsewhere as well, and they're not going to stay in the Premier League. They might move away. So I don't think it's very good that with all the money that the English Premier League has, that their two best players in the England national side are away. Just before you guys, I'll just give you, because we're going to kick off the second half here, I'll give you some updates on the Bet Rivers prices now. In the Premier League now, Chelsea 1-1 at halftime. Chelsea are plus 205. The draw is plus 185, and Liverpool still favours them plus 165. That was a real game of the first 30 minutes was all Liverpool. Last 15 minutes, Chelsea really come into it. 2 VAR decisions. Both sides have had a goal each disallowed. Overs is 3.5 with over minus 125, and under is minus 105. There's 126 different markets available on the Bet Rivers website in play. And over in France, on the match that we have an interest for James Eastham on, because we win, we have, let me get that for you now. Rennes are obviously 3-1. There's no betting really on the match. It's a big price for Metz to come back, and 35-1 for the draw, but it's 4.5 goals. If you expect another goal in the match, you can bet another goal in the match at minus 136. Would you bet another goal in the game at minus 136, or will you be just leaving that one?
No, I would be looking at another goal, because Metz have got to come back and have a go, and Rennes are the sort of side who do like to rack up the score. So I could see there being another goal. If it gets to 82, 83 minutes, then I think you're not really giving yourself enough time. Although there was, I think, +7 added on at half time here. So there's probably going to be quite a lot of injury time now with the new rules and regs that they're coming on. Shane, that is not a Pompey shirt behind me. It's a Marseille shirt, and the scarf is actually an IFK Gothenburg scarf. So
I wouldn't say nothing about one of your shirts saying Uber Eats on it, Steve. I don't know what the gag would be there, but I'm not going there, mate. I'm not going there.
Yeah, I'm a Marseille man, as many of you know. Leeds United as well, although we don't even discuss them on these shows anymore. And yeah, I do like a bit of IFK Gothenburg over in. So I'm trying to actually build up a bit of a shirt selection this year. Sort of my sort of thing. But anything else to add before we sign off, Nigel, about anything?
Well, I wanted to look at some of the movers, Steve, for the weekend. I mean, I'm looking at the Bet Rivers website, obviously teams that I think over the next day or so on the movers. You mentioned a couple of them, but there's a few things that caught my eye on the Bet Rivers website. One of them was Nottingham Forest against Sheffield United. We've highlighted here how bad I think Sheffield United are going to be. And you know what? In the second half yesterday, I was really, really impressed with Nottingham Forest. They should have gone 1-0 up. Obviously, Johnson went clean through. He missed a sitter, and he should have gone 1-0 up. And I'll tell you what, Nottingham Forest will have no problems this year relegation. I don't care what anybody says. Their home form last year at the end of the season was absolutely exceptional. I mean, they beat Arsenal, didn't they? 1-0 to cost them the title. They beat Brighton 3-1. They scored goals. They beat Southampton 4-3 as well. So they won their last 3 matches season. And the atmosphere at the City Ground is probably one of the best atmospheres in the Premier League. If you ever want to come over and watch a game there, it's exceptional. So I think Sheffield United going there. What I saw yesterday, just after the game, was plus 120 with Bet Rivers. That's now come down to minus 107. I can see that going off about minus 125. I think there'll be more money for Nottingham Forest here. I really like that, Nottingham Forest at minus 125. And I do a lot of stuff on the lower leagues as well. I go to a lot of lower league football as well across England. This is heavily, this show here, this is our first one. It's heavily related to the English league, because that's really what I handicap, and the Premier League is what I do. Steve's the expert on the European stuff. Daniele will be on next week, and other players of the team will be looking at more markets on the countries that they specialise on. But Bet Rivers are plus $9 Gillingham to win League Two. I tell you, that's the best price in the world, and that is a price that you want to take as well if you want to get on. If you like the English lower leagues, head to Bet Rivers, take that 9-1 on Gillingham. I mean, they've won all their 3 opening matches, 2 in the league, 1 in the Carabao Cup. They beat Southampton in the Carabao Cup. They're owned by a brilliant owner, American owner, who's spending money. They've got an excellent manager in Neil Harris, the former Millwall manager. They bought some great players in the summer. He bought the centre midfielder who played for Wales. I can't remember his name at the time. And they've just bought a striker who was at Ipswich and QPR as well. So they've got players in that level who are really good. They've got money to spend. I think Wrexham are a fade. I think Notts County are going to take a bit of time. But I think at $9, Gillingham to win League Two is a massive price. And I think if we come on next week, they play Sutton United away next week. Sutton United without their centre forward for the game would be suspended. So I think Gillingham will probably win that as well on a move. But on the Premier League, Nottingham Forest was the big thing I thought. Plus 120 yesterday, already down to minus 107. I expect Nottingham Forest to get bet heavily at home against Sheffield United, which is next Friday night.
Yeah, I saw the highlights of that game. And on Friday night, I actually tweeted up an EPL predicted table. It was a bit of a half-hearted attempt from me. I actually put Forest to get relegated, and I watched the highlights. And Taiwo Awoniyi, the striker, right? If you've got a goal scorer, you're going to be all right. And if they can keep him fit, it's quite clear he's going to get them probably between 10 and 15 goals this season. He looks a real handful. He didn't start the game because he was injured, but he came on, got the goal. He's a real poacher. Plus 160 to score against Sheffield United. He is. There, that can be one of you lot can nick that pick in the EPL show if you want off me. But that looks a big price for someone who looks sharp in front of goal already. But if he got a goal scorer, I agree with you. I think Forest is going to be all right, really, and the home form is pretty damn strong, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they're right. I really did. I thought second half when they got the goal and they got the tails up, I thought they really did put the pressure on Arsenal, and Arsenal were hanging on for not long periods, but they were under pressure a little bit. And I think at home they're going to be a match for anybody. So I think Nottingham Forest is the big move from the early Premier League prices that I've seen here. But obviously the big game next week is Newcastle, Manchester City, which we'll have covered with myself, Jack, and Dan on the show, which we're going to record on Thursday.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows coming out this week. Again, we've got an outright show involving German Bundesliga, Italian Serie A. So Daniele Fischer-Keller's on. We've got RJ on as well this week for that show, and Champions League qualifying rounds, second leg before the playoff round. So join us for those shows. You've got your EPL show as well, loads of tennis stuff. So plenty of content at the moment on this Because We Win YouTube channel, Nigel.
Yeah, make sure you give us a follow as well. It's very important to give us a rate and review and a comment here on the box. But this show here is really it's our first one. Bear with us here. Obviously, we're gonna take a bit of time to get the format right. But what it is here is supposed to be discussing all the things talking about on the World Week of Football, and obviously we're putting them into a betting perspective and trying to highlight some moves and some opinion where we think things are going to be moving over the next few days before we record those shows. So, yeah, Nottingham Forest. What, if anything, you like early doors in Europe, Steve?
Well, it's interesting, but obviously the return of the Italian League and the return of the German Bundesliga. One thing I was looking at is Monaco today. It looks like their games are going to be absolutely wide open. So I think I'm already imagining overs in their fixture next week against Strasbourg. But we need to see how Strasbourg look tonight against Lyon. That's the big match tonight in Ligue 1. Patrick Vieira's debut. And I'm always a bit concerned about Vieira. He's a really negative, boring boss, isn't he? He kind of prefers 1-0s and 0-0s, doesn't he? So it does take two to tango. But Monaco look absolutely wide open at both ends of the field. They can score goals, but they cannot, keep it tight at all. So, that one I was looking at. And another over I quite like is actually in Lyon against Montpellier. But again, I want to have a look at that fixture tonight. So, it's Strasbourg against Lyon, a big game. I don't actually know which way it'll go. I need my 3-sided coin for that one.
I think the takeout from the Premier League, though, for me, from the first week is that Manchester City and Haaland aren't easing up. Haaland is obviously very heavy favourite now to be the top Premier League goal scorer, 2 goals back. Pep Guardiola gave him a little bit of a telling off when he walked off the pitch. I think he knows how to handle Pep Pep Guardiola knows how to handle more than anyone, so I don't think we can criticise that. He gets the best out of him, doesn't he? I think that obviously Newcastle will impress, but I think we'll know a lot more about them in the upcoming weeks. I still think Man City are worthy favourites, the team to beat. Liverpool are struggling here, not looking that great. And at the bottom, I think it's going to be a very, very long season for Luton and Sheffield United. And I think the early prices to oppose those on the Asian handicaps, I think could be the way forward because they are going to really struggle.
Yeah, so I think that about covers it for the week 1 reaction show. Thanks to everyone who did join. And we'll be doing this every Sunday now. There'll be different guests on joining me for this reaction show. Get involved. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can. Maybe we'll tweak the format a little bit. But appreciate all your questions today, all your great comments. And I say, do stay tuned to the Because We Win YouTube channel. Give us a like. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already. And, good luck whatever you're betting this week. So goodbye from me, and I'll see you next time, Nigel.
Yeah, goodbye from me as well. Good luck with your bets this weekend. And I've been told to bet Strasbourg tonight on the draw no bet market. Good bet or not?
Well, James Eastham said that he was his underdog of the week, so you don't bet against James Eastham, do you?
That's all I need to hear. That's all I need to know.
So there you go. That'll do. Goodbye, all. Take care.